It's time to go into the big top. Water for Elephants is now on Broadway. It's based on the best-selling novel and hit movie. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Sara Gettelfinger rose the ranks on Broadway for well over a decade, starting in 2000, going from standout Corinne to leading lady. Then she was gone, leaving fans like myself wondering what happened. Now that she's back in the new musical, Water for Elephants, she's ready to sit down and tell her story about facing her darkest days far from the lights of the stage. This is Water for Elephants.
Yes.
You're back on Broadway. I'm so thrilled to see you.
Thank
How does it
you.
feel? This theater has a little history for you.
Oh, for sure.
Because you were in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, one of my favorite musicals. So you know all about birthing a new musical
Oh, absolutely.
at the Imperial Theater.
Yes.
So how does it feel to be back here?
It is unbelievable. It's surreal. It was equal parts this incredible start of a second chapter, but also an unbelievably beautiful homecoming. Even when we took our first tour, you know, with this group, you know, some of the same crew that was there from Scoundrels, and it was really like just putting on your favorite old comfy sweater. It was like, I am back where I feel at home and I belong and I love it.
This is the stage door where you made your Broadway debut. And I saw you here as Bird Girl.
Yes, Bird Girl too.
You were a Bird Girl in Seussical.
Yes, it was my first one. And you want to talk about an adventurous, out of town,
That was
building
quite
a new
a journey.
musical. But yeah, it's so crazy, and that was in 2000.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes going between these two stretches is like more than my heart can take. It's really, really wonderful.
So, I mean, how does it feel to be able to walk through Times Square and see your musical up? Look at that. Like, there it is.
I will say it just, well, it's different now because when I was here before, they didn't have
now
like
it's
the
digital.
moving billboards, but it's still,
They come and go.
There's nothing like it.
What was that girl like, the girl who came here to make her Broadway debut?
Stubborn and determined as all get out. It was funny because I told my parents, I said, you know, well, I'm gonna be up there for 3 weeks and I'm gonna get an apartment and I'm gonna get an agent and I'm gonna get a job and then I'll come back and get my stuff. And my poor parents were like, fantastic, but in the event that doesn't happen.
We're like, this is happening.
Could we just get, but I was always that way. It was like, nope, I know this. You know, I had a vision in the stars and, you know, anyway, it worked out that way. Well, talk about a first gig. I with my agent that I'm still with now, bless her, Jeannie Nicolosi. And my first job, I was non-equity, but my first job, I was in the Helen Hayes production of Company.
Oh.
I was April.
Okay.
Norm Lewis was Bobby.
Yes, I remember that production.
Donna
Of course.
McKechnie was Joanne.
Yeah.
I mean, I was dying, and the best part was to make an extra $50 a week. I drove the van.
Amazing.
I drove the van out.
People from here up to the theater, to the city, from the city
and
to
then
the
parked
theater.
it in my little Roach Hotel in Queens. But my father was like, so you're driving a large white van around with Broadway treasures. What
Wow.
could go wrong? But it was great.
So in 2003, you got cast in a very fancy production of the musical Nine,
Yes.
starring Antonio Banderas.
Conchita.
And your original role was
Maria.
Right,
I did
Maria.
a lovely, fun feature in the ensemble with an
Yes.
incredible group of women.
and you were the understudy for Jane Krakowski
Correct.
as Carla,
Yes.
but she never missed a show.
No. It seemed that moment was never going to come.
And then
I didn't.
what happened is, and that happened right over there
Yes.
at the Eugene O'Neill Theater. What happened is Jenna Elfman was cast to replace Jane Krakowski, and you would continue as the understudy.
Correct.
And I think the day before she was going to start,
Yes.
she decided that she wasn't moving forward with the show.
Correct.
And you got the gig temporarily to start.
Yes,
Like it was
they
kind of
asked
like,
me,
go
they
on
said-
for now.
They literally said, will you go on for 3 or 4 days while we find a star? And I was like, yes, thank you so much.
And I got to tell you, I actually went back and looked. I saw your first performance.
Oh my gosh.
I was there the night you went on
It
with
was
John
Wednesday.
Stamos.
Yes.
The new cast coming in. You were fantastic. I mean, you totally killed it. You were upside down in the sheet and totally killed it. Let's keep walking.
Yes.
Let's go sit down. We have more to talk about. The last big credit I remember you doing prior to seeing you back on Broadway was you were Morticia Addams in the very big national tour of the Addams Family, which is a really good gig. And I think you were on the road for, was it a good year?
Yeah, it was a year and change.
And then I haven't seen you since.
Correct.
Landing the role of Morticia Addams in the national tour of the Addams Family was a big get for Gettelfinger, taking a beloved character and a true leading lady turn on the road. But her offstage addictions were getting the best of her.
My major demon was cocaine. I was not in a good place when I booked that show. That year of that Addams Family tour would sort of be after going from being a partier to very regularly using drugs and alcohol. I hit the end of the road of I'm not able to, not only is it not giving me those perceived superpowers that I thought it had as far as, I have all this energy, I'm thin, I can do anything, but it was crashing and burning big time.
You said you started as a partier. Did you find that sort of like a part of the lifestyle of being a performer? And I mean...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was just, there was sort of like, you finished the show and then you went out to,
you have a lot of energy.
Yeah, you have all this energy, and usually you went to a restaurant or a bar first, and then you went to the after party, and then the after party, and we had plenty of time to sleep until 4 o'clock the next day, and have a bagel and some orange Gatorade, and rinse and repeat. And that worked for a very long time. I think the thing that is very interesting when I reflect is that I had a great time for a very long time.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is that I also look back and I always felt unsettled in my work. Even though I was, getting wonderful feedback and getting more opportunities, my confidence in my work always came from an outside source. Because you're always rewinding the tape. How was it? What did they think? And, or even what did I do? How did it go? And not even so much as that, I was out there and I was incoherent, but just that constant chasing validation from anywhere other than something of an inner knowledge or strength. By the time I got to the Addams Family, especially towards the end of it, and God bless my castmates, who were very patient and kind, even though terribly concerned, and rightfully so. But when I say I crawled over the finish line of that tour, I am not exaggerating. I finished that in the very end of 2012, and it was just a couple of months into 2013 when I had to wave the white flag and go home to properly get into rehab and get treatment for drug and alcohol addiction.
I know you just hit 11 years sober. Congratulations. Yes. How did that moment happen for you 11 years ago?
My health was really deteriorating. I was in the worst physical shape. And when I say the worst mental shape that I've ever been in, just paranoia to where, like I wasn't able to leave the house. I wasn't able to just take care of basic things in terms of maintaining an apartment. And I had a very dear friend in Brooklyn that had been in the program, and there was, just one evening where I literally felt like I very much in a form of like a panic attack kind of thing, but I just remember taking a car to her apartment and just really saying, I can't do this anymore, and I can't, and she said, give me your phone, we're gonna call your parents, it's time. And the next day, I flew home. It's interesting because there's sort of a double chapter in my road back, but that first year, it was just about finally being honest with my family, about the double life, everything that had been going on.
I can't imagine how difficult that was.
Yes, it was heartbreaking, and it was heartbreaking for them. It wasn't our family's first rodeo with addiction just in terms of genetics and things like that, but I also think that there was some relief in it because I think they knew that I wasn't well.
Gettelfinger entered a rehab facility back home in Louisville, Kentucky, but held on to her Manhattan apartment in hopes that she would jump back into her life once clean. She even briefly returned to star in an off-Broadway rock musical in 2014. But that show's failure was a heartbreak, and she suddenly felt uneasy with the ups and downs of a career that she once navigated with ease. She left the city and settled in Kentucky, focusing on her sobriety with the help of medical professionals. But she soon found herself experiencing a new challenge, crippling struggles with impulse control and a newfound gambling addiction. The irony is that these were well-documented side effects of one of the medications prescribed to her by her doctors to help her get better.
What I would come to find out later, by the grace of God, was that this particular drug I was put on had been numerous studies, cases all over the world that were causing this same type of compulsion in people. But where I take responsibility for it is, while that was horrible luck, that this new affliction came sort of ignited by this drug, it was the addict in me that, instead of saying to a doctor, I'm having these impulses, it doesn't make sense, I'm multiple years sober now, I've never thought about this, and I didn't say something.
The double life, because you know how to live a double life.
Absolutely.
So
you go back to that, and basically what ended up happening is, the first time in my life that I got arrested was, I was just over a little bit of 2 years sober. It was the sort of thing where, even though, and to this day, and I not only hurt people and betrayed people, but these were people that loved me and were dear to me and trying to help me. And one of the things that is really difficult is that, there's some of those people that, even because of how things were handled legally, I was not allowed to have contact with them, and I was never able to say, most importantly, I am so sorry, but also explain what had happened. Because the thing is, to have this new addiction that takes you down to the depths of behavior and desperation, that doesn't change the fact that what I did was devastating and wrong. Finding out that there was a reason for it doesn't excuse it, but it at least gave me a why. And the more important thing was, I'm in a headspace of, well, I guess I'm just a monster, and it doesn't matter what I give up, I'm gonna find something else to be addicted to that's not only gonna make me dangerous for anyone to be around me, but I'm gonna find a way to destroy myself.
Gettelfinger was arrested for theft in June of 2015, but avoided a felony charge due to her otherwise clean record. She was given 3 years probation, sent to live in a sober living house, and had to stay clean, undergoing regular drug testing.
I was so relieved, but at the same time, it was kind of like, well, what now? Because I certainly was estranged from my family, and I couldn't be trusted. I couldn't trust myself, and I could not fathom how, especially at 2 years clean, I had somehow sought this new activity out. It's just, I am hell-bent on destruction, and anyone who comes near me should absolutely, they're at risk. But the crazy thing is I'm still thinking about it every day. I'm living in a sober house for women, a halfway house. Meetings every day, regulated, having a card signed when I go to and from the jobs that I'm allowed to have, and I'm still thinking about this every day. Thinking about gambling. And that's when I reached the point of, you know what, if this is all that's left for me, I don't even want to be here. I don't even want to be here.
Feeling lost and alone, Gettelfinger attempted suicide. Soon after, she was shown a miracle in the form of a law firm commercial seeking out victims of the same drug that had ruined her life.
Have you had your life ruined by gambling and other compulsive behaviors? And my heart stopped, and I literally called the number. I had this long meeting with the rep from the law office. The next day, I get an appointment with my doctor to get off of this thing. And I'm not kidding you, it was approximately 3 weeks, and it was like a spell was broken. It was, and it was equal parts anger, but also this unbelievable relief of, first of all, at least to start with, for my family, I could say there was something going on with me. And here's our scientific articles. I ended up in conversations with families or other people from Canada, Australia, where 10, 12 years before they had to change it in the US, they had to put a warning on this drug.
Wow.
And there were far better people than me that had fallen into this, that, you know, had drained their family's savings or mortgaged their houses, some of whom I didn't get to talk to the actual people. I talked to their family members, because when they had had enough, when they tried to take their leave, they were successful. And by the grace of God, when I had, you know, those attempts, I was not successful. Now came the task of rebuilding. But the first step was just realizing, very simply, I'm not a monster. I am an addict, and I have done terrible, hurtful things, but I am not sentenced to this affliction for the rest of my life. There was something that I was given that was supposed to help me that made everything worse. So now that that is out of the picture, for the most basic level, is I started feeling what it was like to enjoy the benefits of sobriety. And we're talking just things like feeling better, being able to go for a walk, not having these dark, tormented feelings and struggles every day.
Was there a lot of time with yourself in this period?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can honestly say I pretty much, other than a couple of very trusted mentors and people from the program, I was almost always alone. I had some very unconventional jobs. I waited tables at Frisch's Big Boy. And let me be clear, the biggest thing in that, you know, because what was so incredible is with these different jobs, with these different chapters of my life, with people from very different backgrounds and communities, so many of them saved my life. And they didn't give a shit about Broadway.
Yeah.
They didn't know, you know, maybe had never even been to the theater. And it's some of the wisest, strongest, most incredible people I've ever met in my life. And they saved my life. Yes, so I waited waitress at Frisch's Big Boy. I sold vacuum cleaners, Kirby vacuum cleaners. If anyone has a Kirby and you're having trouble with it, I can still dismantle it and replace the belt and help you fix it.
Good to know.
I swear to God. I mean, you literally can't write it. You literally can't write it.
So you found comfort in regular life.
Absolutely.
Regular folks. I mean, you spent all these years with showbiz people, right?
Well, and also, but the other thing that was interesting is it was kind of like, there was just such this new lease on life when I found out what was wrong with me and was able to remove it. But at first, I mean, there was no notion of like, you know, I'm gonna make it. I was just like, I've got a shot at living. And when I say that, I mean like I've got a shot at being above ground.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting with, all this tenacity and determination that I'd always had that had, served me in this very difficult career of showbiz. Now it was just like, I've just got to put one foot in front of the other to one day at a time to stay clean. But it's like, I am still meant, I've got to find something else, but I'm not done.
As she started rebuilding her life, a surprise twist. New love, courtesy of a blast from the past. In late 2020, Gettelfinger married Eric Popp, a senior executive at a Louisville AV company, and became stepmom to 2 middle schoolers. Tell me how he came into your life. He was someone who was in your life. To talk about this love story a little bit.
So, it's very hard without me getting choked up again. But my husband is Eric, and the crazy thing is, we actually went to grade school together.
Wow.
And we had a little bit of a crush on each other when we were in grade school. I was very good friends with his older sister. He's a year younger than me, but our families knew each other. We went
the
to
cute
same
younger
church.
brother.
Totally. Who also played guitar. So it was, and he was very much always very artistic, and we just really kind of had kindred spirits, even in our little kid souls. The crazy thing was, right when I had sort of started my rebuilding back home, he had been out on the West Coast and also had returned home. And, things were shifting in his life and with his marriage. And he sought me out. And I was still at a point where even for myself, I wasn't going to throw myself a party that it's like, oh, I figured it out, it's okay. I mean, I truly had to figure out how to live and, sort of put my money where my mouth was in terms of, no, I'm better and I can live better. But he sought me out. Our first date was just to be for coffee, and it ended up being 8 hours. There's nothing like being, the golden girl who's, Broadway darling, and then after the fall from grace, trying to go shopping in a grocery store and literally having people pointing and whispering, and, it's like, everybody knew about it.
Everyone knew your story. And
oh, yes,
wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, and there were, of course, 15 spectacular versions of it. And, and
Right.
Eric said to me, he goes, so, yes, I've heard it all, probably more versions than you have. But he said, I just want to say, first and foremost, I'm just glad that you're still here. I know your heart. I've known your heart since we were little. And I just feel really lucky to get to spend time with you right now. And that was nothing short of a miracle. And that was the fall of 2017. He has been in my life since then. We got married a little over 3 years ago.
Gettelfinger didn't plan on a Broadway comeback. She was happy in a new chapter, teaching music and movement to preschoolers, as well as privately coaching voice and acting again, and settling into married life. But a pandemic-time 20th anniversary Zoom reunion of the Seussical cast and an in-person concert at 54 Below the year after sparked her return.
Amazing, amazing, baby, that's my tale.
I'm in our little house in Indiana working on this stuff. And suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, I have this access to my instrument and this joy of it. And like I said, just being truly present that I've never experienced before. And my sweet husband is coming in periodically. He was like, it's really good. It's just so sweet.
You should be on Broadway.
Oh, no, he was like, no, it's really good, honey, so. But then we end up coming up, not just from my castmates, but from the people that came to the concert. The response was overwhelming.
As amazing as me.
And after that, we were walking back to the hotel, And my husband said, I don't care what we have to do. I don't care what it takes, but you are not done. And he made me promise that I would reach out to my agent, Jeannie, who, I hadn't spoken to in, 10 years.
Wow.
And then what was crazy is he made me put it on the calendar. And the Friday before that Monday that I was supposed to reach out to her, she called me. She sent me an email. And then we spoke on the phone.
She heard the buzz from 54 Below.
She literally did. She said, "Did you do a Seussical concert?" Because I didn't invite. My parents came, Eric came, and my nearest and dearest. This was not supposed to be a send out cards for people to come see my showcase. It was not.
Gettelfinger returned to the professional stage in the summer of 2022, playing the aptly named Star in the Cher Show at the Ogunquit Playhouse in Maine. An opportunity to try out for the role of aging showgirl Barbara in the new musical Water for Elephants came soon after and brought her back to Broadway. How do you describe Barbara and her role in the circus?
She is definitely the mama bear.
Yes.
She is definitely a caretaker, but she is also, the old wise broad who's nothing she hasn't done, nothing she hasn't seen, and she's a survivor in her own right.
Yeah.
Just so much of her and the layers I found in her and the richness I found in her that are completely a byproduct of these many, sometimes very difficult adventures that I've had.
It's not easy to sit here and reveal all this about yourself.
Yeah.
I've as a longtime friend and fan of yours, I've been wondering and worried about you for many years. So it's
Sure.
good to actually hear your truth. What do you want people to take from the fact that you're sitting here and telling the story?
The number one thing that I want people to take from my story is, especially at a time when so many people have so many struggles, there is always hope. There is always hope. And a big part of it is you have to be, if you can be brave enough to do one thing, anything you might be struggling with, if you can be brave enough to do one thing every day. Sometimes that may even be brushing your teeth, but rather it is a rebuilding that begins in being brave enough to be honest, being brave enough to have to admit what I am doing is not serving me, what I am doing is hurting others. As long as truly, I know it sounds overdramatic, but as long as you are breathing, there is a way to do something different and better. That can create a seed of strength. There can end up being limitless in how it can change your life and give you a second chance. But the other thing is to be humble enough to know that you have no idea what that chance could be or what form it will come in. But that if you can just hang on and do one thing that says, I can't give up. I can't give up yet. I can't give up and believe that this is all I'm worth. I can't give up and believe that there's not a way for me to be a better person. I can't give up and believe that no one will ever understand or forgive. But it takes time and it takes a tremendous amount of courage. But sometimes at the end of the days, if you're just trying to keep going or let alone rebuilding, if you put your head on the pillow at night and go, but I did that one thing. That one thing was better. That one thing was different. I wouldn't say that there's always necessarily gonna be a way back, because sometimes you can't ever go back. I have relationships that I'll never be able to go back to. But it might mean that you're not done. And I think a lot of people, that's just what I would like to pass on.
When you step on a stage and you hear the roar of the audience, right? It's a classic Broadway showbiz moment. Does it mean something different for you now than it did before? And how do you verbalize that?
The biggest difference for me now is it used to be thrilling. It's still thrilling, but the reason that it's thrilling is different. I think you can ask any actor, you know, we have that, even if it's subconscious, need for validation, and did they love it? But I really used to have this feeling of, I come out for the curtain call and hope that I'm going to receive praise from the audience because they have loved what I've done. But the difference now, the reason why it's thrilling, is I actually view the curtain call as a thank you to the audience. Because I love what I get to do every night regardless. And I feel gratitude to them that because they've shown up, I get to step out there and tell this story and do what I love. It's the kind of thing where, you know, I think that's one of the biggest differences, not just being on stage, but in my life. It's, you know, people say, well, what's the biggest difference now? I'm present. And I don't mean that in like a, you know, crocheted on a throw pillow type of way, like truly in the most profound way. It's also, like, you know, the kids say, you know, like when I say like, I'm there for it, I'm here for it. And I'm not saying it in, you know, the pop culture way.
Yeah.
But I don't wonder what I did on stage. I'm not gonna leave and wonder how this interview went because I'm here and I'm experiencing it. And it is one of the most incredible gifts of my life because I not only don't question it or worry about it, I'm able to enjoy it. I can feel myself connected to the earth every night. And I can look into the eyes of these other incredible artists that I get to be out there and be in this world. I can be on a scaffold, you know, moments before I'm about to go into a scene, but look up into the, you know, the back wall of the LEDs and this gray sky and take that moment in as Barbara. And every moment I am there and anchored. And it is the most profound gift and a different level of joy and fulfillment in performing that I have never experienced. And it makes me realize too that even when I thought I was knocking it out of the park, I had no idea what it meant to just truly be strong and clear and anchored on a stage doing what I love. And it takes my breath away every night. It really does.